Good morning, Jay.
Even with the mask up, it can't hide it.
Maybe with the mask. Good morning. Good morning. It's wonderful to be back with you. It's wonderful to be celebrating this wonderful summer weather we're having. And we are so grateful for the gift of air conditioning because it's really toasty and warm. But we know that all things are working together for good. And despite the fact we had to have workers work on the air conditioning, it's with us today. And we hope that wherever you are, you know that God is with you. God is within you. God is all around you. And truly, we affirm that all is well with you. We are Unity Center in Milwaukee. We are a place that honors all spiritual paths, particularly the one that you are on. And so today we welcome you with open arms and open hearts, knowing that as you celebrate with us, you too will be touched and lifted up. This morning we begin our service with a statement of faith. There's only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence. And our statement for our spiritual family and this center. Thank you, God, that we have come to this place to release the past, to celebrate the present, to embrace the future in love, peace, harmony, and prosperity. And so it is. For many of you that are familiar with our celebration, we've always had a time of joys and concerns, at times to share prayer, but because of anonymity, I just washed my tongue, I can't do a thing with it. We are speaking a collective prayer for all prayer requests. And so if you'll join me in an attitude of prayer, let us come together. We've marked this time to shift attention from our plans and concerns to the center of being in which we know Spirit is all. Spirit is everywhere and the essence of everything. In this reality, we concentrate our attention now so that we may know Spirit is at the center of our being and that we are one as we enter into this time of prayer together. Let my voice be your voice within as I affirm, I am peace at the core of my being. I am peace at the core of my being. Spirit is peace. I am one with the spirit of peace. Breath by breath, I settle into a peace that instills calm, confidence, and courage. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go in this moment of being. I am peace. I am peace. I listen to inner wisdom and I am guided to live my purpose. I listen to inner wisdom and I am guided to live my purpose. Within my mind and heart, intuition flows as a steady stream, an ever-ready sense of direction. Wisdom is natural to me, for I am one with the spirit of wisdom. I choose wisely, purposefully, prayerfully. I am attentive. I am attentive. Healing energy flows throughout my being, renewing my mind and my body. Healing energy flows throughout your being, renewing your mind and your body. In this moment, I release any thought that lessens well-being. I attune to the spirit of life, recognizable as healing, renewing, vitality. I live in the flow of healing. Renewing vitality is mine. Well-being is my experience as I know the truth of my divine life. God is my source. Freely I give and freely I receive. God is your source. Freely you give and freely you receive. The Spirit of God, everywhere, in the essence of everything, is the source of my abundant life. When thoughts of scarcity cloud my vision, I rise by giving freely in a state of gratitude. I appreciate the good. I give and receive as I pray. My thoughts, words, and actions create a space for peace and love. Your thoughts, words, and actions create a space for peace and love. Hold the world and all beings in a light of peace and love. And, guarding my thoughts, I choose compassion. Measuring my words, I choose encouragement. Preparing my actions, I choose kindness. I am one with the spirit of peace and love, always and in this moment of prayer. And as we complete this time of prayer, we know the truth that God is with us, within us, and all around us. God is, and we are. And for this truth, we say thank you, God. Amen. Our daily word today is being read by Sue Navala.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am divinely guided. Guidance can be easy to find in the outer world. Maps and GPS technology can help me to navigate my way just about anywhere. Anywhere I go, there are signs marking streets, adorning storefronts, and providing just about any kind of information and opinion imaginable. Spiritual guidance often is not as evident, but it is much more valuable. This guidance can come to me as a persistent tug on my attention, as a gut feeling or intuition, or even a dream as I sleep. I pay attention to the guidance. I receive and step out in faith to move my steps in its direction. I know that the spirit of wisdom and love within me are always guiding me to blessings of greater love, peace, and prosperity. And from Psalm 25:4, make me know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths.
Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. As we continue, we are welcoming Julie Thompson and Douglas to share with us their musical gift. And I had an opportunity to talk with Douglas this morning, and what a delightful individual. I'm hoping you get to know him more through the music. We sound better every time. Here's an old song that I put a couple new verses to at the very end. You got to walk down some valley. You got to walk it for yourself. Nobody else can go there for you. You got to walk it for yourself. My mother walked that lonesome valley. My mother
That lonesome valley, my brother walked it for himself. Nobody else can walk it for him. He gotta walk it for himself. Oh, Jesus walked that lonesome valley. He had to walk it for himself. Nobody else could walk it for him. He had to walk it for himself. Although the road be rough and rocky, and the hills, this is what he got for you, be steep and high, we can see as we go marching. And we'll win by and by. This is mine, here we go. Oh, it seems a desperate fate to be walking there alone. We will lift our eyes to the mountain, then we'll see we're not alone. How about one from you, Doug? When we're walking in the valley, we must know around the bend it's a higher land for us. 'Cause this valley's not the end. There's a higher land for us. 'Cause this valley's not the end. 'Cause this valley's not the end.
So today I'm talking about loneliness, and I'm talking about loneliness because I talk to people a lot during the week. I make phone calls, and our board of trustees make phone calls to check on our flock and people that we know. And what I found is that so many people feel separate, they feel lonely, and quite frankly, many are depressed. And what I realize is that we always have an opportunity to make a difference. We always have an opportunity to be a blessing to other people. And we do it through different ways. And you know, wherever you look, you're going to see people. Yes, most of us are going to be in our mask, most of us. Um, but you're still going to see people who really long to be touched. Now, I'm not saying we're going to reach out and hug them. We're going to do like the telephone advertisement, reach out and touch someone that way. But also, you do it with a smile. You do it with a nod. You do it with a kind word. Talk is cheap, friends. It doesn't cost you much to say good morning or how are you doing. My favorite is if it's hot, is it hot enough for you? Yeah. Or if it's raining, think you're going to get wet? Sometimes we say nonsensical things, but it's only because we have a desire to connect. We want to connect with other people, and we haven't figured out exactly how to do it appropriately. What I have found, though, is that it's always easy to find something to comment on in a positive way. Maybe someone is wearing an outfit that you think is absolutely dreadful, but the color is good. So you have a wonderful thing to say. Gosh, that color is outstanding. It really just pops out. You're not saying the outfit does, but you're saying the color does. So everybody that you meet needs to be touched in some way, same way that, and there's hundreds of people out there every day, no matter what you're doing. I'm looking out the window to see a gentleman on his walker, walking in the neighborhood, and it makes me happy to see that. But as spiritual people, we're always seeking to touch God, are we not? Isn't that our plan, our joy to connect with God in a powerful and meaningful way? So we want to be as determined to connect with others as we are to connect with God. Friends multiply our joy and they divide our sorrow. I brought a plant with me back from the cabin because I didn't want it to wither and die up there with nobody to love it. It's supposed to be hanging somewhere, but we'll figure that out later. In the meantime, I'm enjoying the color. But what I noticed about my plants up there is that I'm to the point in my life where I only plant perennials. As much as I love things like pansies and stuff, it's a lot of work for a short season. So what I noticed about my plants though is that some of them, even though they were growing, they weren't looking all that great. And I thought, well, it's just they haven't had enough food. So, I tried giving them extra plant food. And some of them responded, a lot of them didn't. And what I thought about them was that, you know what? Maybe they've been in these pots too long. Maybe I need to repot them. That is not something I am really good at. I actually went online and learned that when you repot a plant, you're supposed to cut all the old roots off, the extra long roots off. I didn't know that. I was trying to cram them into the new pot. So I repotted stuff in new soil, and it's just like thriving. And it makes me really, really happy, even though I'm not going to be there to see it. But it's like putting it in the new soil, it suddenly stopped being imprisoned in the old container that was too tight. And I think sometimes that there are times that we feel imprisoned. I should speak for myself. When I feel imprisoned, where I feel like, who do I talk to? I mean, my husband's sick and tired of listening to me. But, who do I talk to? Who can I reach out to? And what I know is that anytime I choose to reach out first, I am immediately blessed. You ever notice that? You feel crummy, and all you do is help somebody with their shopping cart in the store, and suddenly you feel better. The minute we step out of self and help another, we immediately feel better. We feel blessed. But sometimes there's people that will say, like, even in a crowd, I feel alone. Well, I'm sure that's true. You think about sailors on a ship. There's thousands of them on a ship, thousands. And yet, if they don't have someone that they resonate with, that they can talk to, that they can connect with, I'm sure they feel lonely too at times. But there's always that opportunity that we have to make a difference. And it means it starts with us. It starts with us. Sometimes I get really irritated about that. Why can't it start with somebody else? Well, the minute you start feeling that way, you are again closing yourself off. I want to tell you a little story about one of my sheroes, and that's Eleanor Roosevelt. She's a hero of mine for many, many reasons. But one of the things I'm going to talk about is that she was extraordinarily shy. She was born into an extraordinarily wealthy family. However, she kind of set herself apart because she believed that she was homely, and that because she was homely, people wouldn't like her. This is her belief about herself. And as time went on, she kind of built, those walls that we build around ourselves to protect ourselves. She built a lot of those, thick and high, and was very, very, very painfully shy, even when she met Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Well, eventually she became his wife, and he was in politics, and he was working his way up the success ladder. Eventually became the president. And the people in the party, the political people said, Mrs. Roosevelt, you've got to get out there and shake hands. You've got to get out and make appearances. And she said, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I absolutely can't do that. People won't like me. No, I can't do that. And they would ask her over and over and over again. And finally, her husband said, would you do this for me? And she said, well, I'm going to do it for you, but nobody's going to like me. It's going to be a big disaster. I'm just going to bomb. That's not the word she used, but that's what I used. So she went out. She made an appearance. She had no idea what to say or what to do. She walked out on the stage, and she stood with her hands behind her back and smiled. That's all she did. She smiled. People loved her. She said afterwards that she had never felt such a sense of connection with others as she did in that moment in a room full of people she'd never met before and probably would never see again, because all she did was smile and they loved her. And people all over America loved her. She was an incredible woman. She became an ambassador. She did many things. One of the reasons that she's one of my personal favorites is way back then, she was concerned about ADA, handicap access, making things accessible for people with disabilities. And she was the one that started pushing for that way back when. If you recall, that particular President Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. But even though every photographer and every newscaster around the world knew it, not one of them ever took a picture of him in his wheelchair because they felt that that would disempower him, that people would not look at him as the strong individual that he was. But she is one of the first ones that pushed for things like ramps, oh my gosh, and all kinds of things like that. So the fact that she stepped way out of her comfort zone, she didn't get a lot of stuff passed right away, but she was out there on the front lines, and that made a big difference to me. So there are three areas of relationships in our lives that I want to look at. One is our relationship with ourselves, and then our relationship with our human family, and certainly our relationship with God. In the relationship with ourselves, Matthew 5, scripture says, "You are the light of the world. A city built upon a hill cannot hide its light. No one lighting a lamp puts it under a bushel basket, but rather on a lampstand so it may bring light to all the house." You're a spiritual light. You may not feel like it, but you are. You are a spiritual light to the world. So what does that mean? Does it mean that you're supposed to glow like a neon bulb? No, I'm just thinking about if I could try that. But no, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that you are the tool, the method, the means of lifting others out of darkness. You are the light that will empower others to step forth. You are the light that will help people to see with clarity in a new way. That's really important. So you bring your light and your warmth into every human relationship that you have. And you try to do that meaningfully each and every day. And one of the ways that I try to do that is I try to be fully present with the person that's in front of me. And whether that's the person collecting my money at the gas station, or the person in the deli, or the person in the checkout stand, or the mom who is trying to get 3 kids into one basket, I try to be fully present for that person in that moment. And it helps me, get this, it helps me in my sense of separateness or loneliness to feel connected to others. So I'm talking about ending loneliness. I've thought about it from the standpoint of all the people I've talked to who have felt lonely and are feeling lonely. And one man told me, "I am so starved for a hug," he said, "I could cry." And I actually think he was. And it made my heart so heavy. And I thought, aren't we all? And us, we're a bunch of hyper people anyway. To be sitting 6 feet apart and maintaining social distance, doing the right things, wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask, as you can see, but you wouldn't be able to understand me if I did. That might be okay too. So, we want to bring light into every human relationship we have. And you can try to hide. You can try to do something silly, like put, I don't know what, something over your head. But the truth is that you are light at your core. You are spiritual light at your core. You cannot get away from it. You cannot hide that light. Now, you may not feel like you have enough to give anybody, but trust me, the more you give, the more you feel, the more you have. It's that thing, the more you give away, the more that you get, the more that you have. Scripture said, let your light shine before others so they may see your good works and give glory to your God in heaven. We're not here to set ourselves apart. We're not meant to hide. We're each meant to live as spiritual beings, shining our light, moving past our own self-imposed limitations. The thing that Eleanor Roosevelt said after she had that first appearance and made a comment, she said, many of us build walls to protect ourselves so that we can't be hurt because we are so afraid that we will care too much and the other won't care at all, or maybe as much or enough, but at all was what she said. And I think that's so true for us. We are always concerned about, how do I feel? How do I feel in this moment? Do I feel happy, safe, sad, whatever? But we forget that we also are so interconnected. We're so interconnected. This leads us to our second area of relationships, which is our relationship with all human beings. And I think that as we think about being a blessing to the world and our relationship with ourselves, we think about being a blessing to other people. But as I look at life, sometimes I feel a lot of happiness and peace and a sense of achievement in life. And I think most of that comes from having harmonious relationships with others. And the reverse is the case, that you don't have harmonious relationships, then you probably don't feel those same things. In John 15, Jesus said, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. So what does that mean? I mean, in the battlefield, we know it means that you put your comrade's life before your own. And the number of brave and incredible people who have sacrificed their lives jumping on landmines or jumping in front to take the bullet or whatever is amazing. But I want to think about another way of laying down your life. So in my life, and I'm probably the only one that does this, I have some preconceived notions. I also have this thing called the judger. Now, I like to cheerfully say, no, it's just discerning, but no, there's a judging part of me. And the judging part of me will say, no, don't do that because they're strangers and you don't know what they're like and whatever. Or real, just dirty everyday things like, oh, God, I don't like that outfit at all. Or what in the world is he got on his head? You ever saw, we do these weird things in our own heads. So when I lay down my life, I'm laying down, putting aside all of those old preconceived ideas. I am letting go of, this is you and this is me, we're separate. I'm standing, you're sitting, so clearly we're separate. No. We are one. We are one in spirit. And every time I say that, I think about that movie Avatar. We don't have, we have TV, but we don't get news. Oh my gosh, too bad. At our lake house, but we watch movies a lot, and Avatar is a movie that I love, and we watch it probably once a quarter at least. But what I love is the interconnectedness of the people with the land, and of the people and the land and the animals and everything. But you remember the scene where they're trying to regenerate the life of the scientist, Sigourney Weaver. And they're all together and they are all in harmony and they're all speaking the same affirmation, which I don't understand what it was, but anyways, I'm sure it's about life. And you can see like spider webs of light under them where they're sitting, which is their interconnectedness. That same thing is true of the Sequoia National Monument. Those trees are millions of years old. They do not have deep tap roots. You know how they stand? They have shallow roots that are connected. Each one is helping to hold up another. They are interconnected, interwoven. And that's really how we are at the truth of our being, at the heart of our being, the core of our being. We are truly interconnected and one. Now, there are people you probably don't want to be one with. Well, get over it. You know, when I lay down my life, I lay down my former concepts, but I do that, laying that aside in service to God. Now, that sounds really noble, and I don't say that to myself very often, but that is really what we're doing. When we go out of our comfort zone, when we step out and reach out in some way, we are, in fact, a shining light that is within us, that light of God. And we are part of the circle. We are part of the circle of life and of friends, and certainly we're part of God's spiritual love. And you know, you can just never have too many friends. The more the merrier. Jesus said, "You are my friends, and if you do what I command you to do, I will not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I'm giving you these commandments, that you love one another." See, friendship is the real fruit. It's not a pear or an apple or an orange or a grape that'll last a few days and then not really be very edible. It is an imperishable fruit that will last forever. It blooms daily in your life if you let it. It makes you smile in the middle of the day because you're thinking about a friend that you're going to meet later, or someone you're going to talk to on the phone, or something that someone told you earlier, another friend. So that is the real fruit. And you know, you can never take anything away from anybody else, and they're not taking anything away from you. That's one thing that you cannot do. It's it's spiritual circulation. It's continuing to allow love and good and God to flow between you and between all others, and it creates such wonderful blessings. We really have a hard time imagining how much good we can do, how much good we can do for others. And you know, you may think that you're separate from somebody else, that we're like separate islands of a vast sea, but the thing is, there's something that's unseen that connects us beyond the physical, beyond the physical. So in 1965, a college professor at Johns Hopkins told his sociology class that he wanted them to go into the slums of Baltimore, Maryland, and to get case studies on the boys that they found there. And he said that they had enough people in the class, they could easily get 200 case studies. So the students went out and they did this. And they found many, many, many homeless or very, very poor young boys. And when they came back and they began to present their case studies, there was one common thread. At the end of each case study, when asked of the interviewer, the students, "What is your opinion?" they would say, "This kid hasn't got a chance. This kid hasn't got a chance." 25 years later, the study of the 200 boys was found. And in 1990, another sociology professor came up and said, "I want to see what happened to those boys." So he sent his class out to find out. And of the 200 boys, 20 of them had moved away to undisclosed locations or they had died. And that left 180. Of the 180 remaining boys, 176 of them were amazing successes as doctors, lawyers, dentists. They worked in business. They were professors. The sociology professor was astounded, and he wanted to pursue the matter further. Well, fortunately, the men kind of lived still all in that area, so he went to interview each of them himself. And he said, "What was it? Why are you such a big success? 25 years ago, they said that you had no hope of succeeding, and here you are. What helped you to become such a success? The same reply came back from many of the men, and many of them were very emotional. They said, well, there was this teacher. The professor found out the name of the teacher, that she was still living, and he went to visit her, and despite the fact that she was elderly, she was bright as a penny, and just as cute as she could be. She just fairly sparkled with energy and life. And when he started talking to her, her eyes just twinkled and she had this sweet little smile. And he said, what was your formula? What did you do that made these boys change their lives so dramatically from being stuck in a rut of no hope to being great success? She said, well, I simply love those boys. I simply love those boys. God's love coming through you can touch another in the most miraculous way, truly. And it can change a life. So love a new friend. And you can very well change their life. There's not a whole lot to do at the lake house, which is why I was there, because I was supposed to be taking it easy. But there are nurseries that you can go to, and I love plants. And I had a friend who came and spent some time with me, and so she did the driving, which was lovely. We went to a nursery, and they happened to be having their customer appreciation days, their sale. And they had lovely, lovely plants for sale. And while I was trying to decide, which is, more than two things to decide from, it's difficult for me. While I was trying to decide what I really wanted, what was the thing that I absolutely had to have, and how many could I afford, there was a little lady standing there who seemed kind of confused. And she was just as cute as she could be. And because she was sort of standing in the middle, she kind of kept getting bumped into by people with their shopping trolleys. It had rained the night before, so even though they had, believe it or not, put down tar paper on the floor or over the dirt and the whole inside of this huge nursery, so people didn't get muddy. There was still some puddles, but they didn't get muddy. It was pretty amazing. So my friend said, dear, can I help you? And she said, well, I just can't decide what to do. And the next thing you know, she's telling us pretty much her life story. And the bottom line is she was in her late 80s, and she was twice widowed, and she was lonely. She was lonely. And so after we made our purchases, they were supplying food, so we went to get in line to get something to eat, and we brought her along with us. And this sweet young girl who worked for the nursery came with. We kind of walked with her and talked with her, and she sat with us. And it was just, she was so animated, sitting there eating with other people and talking to other people. And you could just feel like all this energy had been bottled up in her, and it just was like exploding. I mean, she was just amazing when she got going. And we kind of wished that she could let someone else talk, or at least eat her food, because she was so excited. So what is it that we do to ourselves about judging other people, and why do we do it? And why do we keep doing it? It's not because we don't know any better, because we do. We do. Do we just think it's not as that it saves us time if we don't have to get involved? I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to give you a snapshot picture from the Gospel of Luke. So there are the 12 disciples and Jesus. The disciples are bickering and arguing among themselves. And what are they arguing about? Who is the greatest of them? And Jesus, who is pretty incredibly mindful, figures that out real quick. And so he calls a little child out of the crowd to come and stand with him. And he says, whoever welcomes this child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For the least among you is the greatest. So if you could imagine from this day forward, this powerful example that Jesus gave us of calling forth a little child and saying, this child is the greatest. This is the one to honor. This is the one to pay attention to. We get past this whole thing about how somebody looks, what they're wearing, where they come from. It doesn't seem to matter. We start to think of them instead as angels unaware. You know, you've heard that expression, entertaining angels unaware. You never know who's got the skin on that's talking to you right now. You never know who are the angels that God has sent to bring you a message of some kind or help in some way. But it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, and then as it becomes practice, it really becomes a habit. But you know, all of us do and say things that can be a turnoff to other people. And Dr. Robert Schuller was at a restaurant one time, and he was talking about a woman a few tables over who was complaining, and she was complaining that it was too hot. So she called the waiter over, and she said, "You've got to make it cold in here. Get the air conditioner fixed." He said, "Okay, well, I'll go do that." 10 minutes later, she's sitting over there, huddled down, pulling her coat up around her. She calls him back. She said, "Now it's too cold. You got to make it warmer." He said, "Do that," and leaves. It's back and forth like this through the whole meal. And finally, the waiter comes by Dr. Schuller's table, and Dr. Schuller said, "That woman must be driving you nuts." He said, "No, she's driving herself nuts. We don't even have air conditioning." But you know, we do that. It's one of those things where we're so into ourselves that we're not aware of the way that we're talking to other people. We're not aware of the fact that maybe what we're saying or doing is so abhorrent to someone else that they not only want to avoid us, I mean, they want nothing to do with us ever, ever, ever. And so it's one of those things that you want to start to think about. What is it that you broadcast, not just by the words out of your mouth, but by your body language, by your tone, by your facial expression? You know, the cheapest thing to give away is a smile. It takes only 17 muscles to smile, but like 72 to frown. So come on. And you say, "Well, yeah, but what about the mask?" Well, I can tell when you're smiling. Your eyes crinkle. I think people know when I'm smiling. At least I think they do. In a monastery in Mount Sirte in Spain, one of the requirements for the monks is that they must maintain perpetual silence. And only after 2 years are they allowed to speak. At that time, they are only allowed to speak to their superior, and they get 2 words. So a young initiate came in to speak after his first 2 years, and the head guy, the abbot, said, what do you have to say?" And he said, "Bed hard." He left. 2 more years goes by, comes back, and he's invited back to speak, and he says, "Food bad." 2 more years goes by, and he comes back to speak. And as he's about to speak, the abbot looks at him, kind of stares him in the eye, and he said, "And what do you have to say for yourself?" "I quit." And the abbot said, "Well, that doesn't surprise me. As long as you've been here, all you've done is complain, complain, complain." Mother Teresa said, "Spread love wherever you go, and first of all, in your own home. Give love to your children, to your spouse, to your next door neighbor. Let no one ever come to you without leaving feeling better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your eyes, in your face, in your smile, and in your warm greeting. Kindness in your eyes. Looking with kindness. Looking with love, looking with compassion." Teilhard de Chardin said, "The day will come after harvesting space, the winds, the tides, and gravity, We shall harness for God the energies of love, and on that day, for the second time in the history of the world, we shall have discovered fire. You are God's plant, and I invite you to bloom where you're planted. Just think about that plant that I replanted. If you had the soil of supportive friends around you, how would you bloom? If you had the soil of supported people to share laughter with, how would you bloom? Think of how your life would be if you had someone to witness your life with you. So I'm going to ask you to do an experiment. And this is kind of a weird one, but then again, it's me. So I want you to take a piece of paper and you're going to make 3 columns. The first column is going to be the people that are supportive in your life. I want you to write down all the people that are supportive in your life. And to these people, I want you to give support. I want you to give extra attention, extra time to. I want you to let them know why they are so valuable in your life. The second column is for people you know that are not particularly supportive of you. But I want you to think about the people in this column, and I want you to think of at least 2 things that you like about them. So it may be that you really like their thick hair, or you really like that they do this or that, or that they stay in shape, or whatever. Think of 2 things that you really like about those people that are not necessarily supportive of you. And here's the thing, even if you never speak to them, most of those people's relationship with you will change because of how you're thinking about them. You don't even have to go talk to them. You don't have to write them a letter, nothing. You just change the way you think about them, focusing on the things that you like. And that energy comes through. It comes through. And most of those people will change in the way they respond to you. And lastly, I want you to make a list of people that I'm just going to call strangers. This is someone that you see in the elevator, someone at the gas station, someone you run into. It doesn't have to be the same person every week. It's totally different people. But I want you to start accepting each of those people as you meet them as friends that you haven't met yet. And when you do that, you tend to be more, there tends to be more kindness that exudes from you, more friendliness. Your smiles show, yes, even with the mask. And you find yourself being surrounded by people who want to be with you. So I want to share real quickly 10 commandments for human relationships. The first one is speak to people. Get out of yourself. Others need you. If you're walking up to them, don't be afraid to speak. Realize that whatever you're doing not just for them. You're doing it for you, but you're doing it for God. You are giving to them true spirituality. The second one is smile. I talked about this before. 14 muscles to smile. I said the wrong number. 14 muscles to smile. So the shortest distance between you and another person is a smile. The third one, when possible, call people by their name. It's the sweetest sound in all the world to them. The fourth is to be friendly and helpful. The fifth is to be cordial at all times. Mean what you say. Say what you mean. The sixth is to be really interested in others in a one-to-one conversation. Now, if I tell you a story about somebody else, like I talked about Eleanor Roosevelt, you're sort of mildly interested. If I talk about myself, you're going to go, oh, she's a bore. But if I talk about you, suddenly I'm going to be a great conversationalist. So learning more about others is the quickest way to grow in that friendship. Be generous with praise always. Be considerate of the feelings of others. Be thoughtful of the opinions of others. Oh, yeah. There's a whole lot of people out there that don't share my opinions. What is wrong with them? Nothing's wrong with them. They have different opinions. They have different hair color. They have different eye color. They're from different places. Doesn't matter. What matters is how I connect with the person. So if I put up a wall about we don't share the same opinion, speak very well to the possibility of really connecting in a heart way. And finally, be of service. What counts most in your life is what you give away and how you serve others. Remember that you're not walking this path alone, you're walking with God, always with God, every step of the way. There's a oneness with God. And even with 6 feet apart, and perhaps even, maybe even better than before, because now people crave spiritual closeness. And that's the truth. Namaste. Let us pray. Dear God, I realize this is going to take more courage, possibly, than I have at the moment to go this extra mile and do what is being shared today. Help me to be a new friend to others, and with your help, God, I will do it. And when I see a stranger, Lord, I ask you to guide me in picking those who need me, because you know I need them. Everyone needs more love. And I now admit that I need more love, companionship, laughter, and joy. God, I ask for that now, and I ask that you guide my life to more happiness. In order to do it, I know the truth. I'm going to have to give more. I am ready, I am willing, I am content, and I choose to start right now. Thank you, God. As we continue in silence, we can reflect on how wonderful it is to sit here in prayer with God and know that without a doubt, God is with me. To know that God is inside of my life, working in me to give my life meaning. To know that in this moment, as I sit in the silence of prayer, going to God, God comes to me. What a spiritual joy it is to have this realization. To know that the power, the authority, the guidance, and the healing of God is with me now. Imagine you are on a road. It is a special garden thoroughfare, and you're on this road by yourself, walking by yourself. This is the road of your life. You can look back and see that the road started when you were a baby. That road continued as you were a young child, and the road is right under your feet right now, wherever you are in life. You see the road ahead of you, and the flowers that you see are yet on this beautiful, wonderful highway of life. And behind you, you see the life as it used to be. You see the messages that were given to you along the way. Many people telling you to be careful of strangers. Stay to yourself. Don't make eye contact with people you don't know. You realize that the messages that were given to you of danger that is out there to beware of, those messages were given from an elementary level of mind. And now you can realize that those messages are in the past. They no longer need to protect you in the full adult form. And on this road where you're standing right now, there are no such messages, only those in your mind. Where you are right now, you can hear the voice of God. The voice of God says to be that light that you are. And it is now time as adults to shine your uniqueness to all people, not just those you already know. In this moment in prayer, in silence, the silence that is between the words, you feel the special touch of God, and all fear and anxiety of meeting strangers passes away from your physical body. All of that dissipates and is transmuted into a higher energy, an energy of fearless God love. Perfect love casts out fear. And now rest in the silence. I accept that perfect love as I accept God's love, knowing that God is love. Of my human self, I may not know words to say when I walk up to a stranger, but I trust that God will give me the words. I give my actions to God, and I love through them. I know there are others around who need me because they are lonely and they feel separate and alone on their path of life. God, let me be a blessing to them. Help me change a life by simply being there and consenting to your power coming through me. Right now in this prayer, I consent to meeting new friends, making new friends, by becoming a friend myself first. I want to be a light in my world. I want to spread kindness and love. I want to shower all who come into contact with me with real blessings of love. And I pray that every person who leaves my sight and presence will feel blessed. I give you my life now with joy. I give you my life to use. I'm on my way toward more happiness, more love, more friends than I have ever experienced on my path of life. I am ready for the blessings. I prepare for this right now. And upon this, I prepare and build my future. Upon this, I meet new friends. And upon this, I'm excited about life, its potential, and its opportunities. Thank you, God, for making me aware of the potential that's all around me, everywhere present, of the love and the joy that I can bring and that will come to me. In Jesus' name I pray, giving thanks. Amen. This is the time in our celebration when we give of our gifts. And while we do not pass a basket here at the center, we do have a basket that you may give your offering, your tithe, supporting gift to, put it in that basket, or you may mail it to the center. We also have PayPal that's available if you go to the website. Let us speak the prayer of offering together. There is no lack or limitation. Freely I give, and freely I receive from God's abundance. I am blessed as I give, and unity is blessed in receiving. So it is. We love to do a song called Philosopher's Song. It's a hope
by Bill Staines, wonderful songwriter. Where are you off to today with your old happy smile? Are you bound to find some rainbow in a cloudy sky? Are you listening to the wind as it sings you a song? As it circles all around you down that road so long. Where are you off to today with your eyes shining bright? Sail upon some new horizon in the morning light. Do you hold it in your hands, another dream we all share? For a better world waiting down that road somewhere. Now you see that the answer's within ourselves, and the time is a wish come true. And no matter how troubled the toiling seems, there is worth in the work that we do. Where are you off to today with your books and all the truths? Do you find within their pages what we must not lose? And in the wisdom of their words, do you seek a better way? That we may touch a bright tomorrow and a brand new day. And in the wisdom of the words, do you seek a better way? That we may touch a bright tomorrow and a brand new day. That we may touch a bright tomorrow and a brand new day.
Oh, thank you. It's always our hope to touch a bright tomorrow, but we are part of that bright tomorrow. We're part of that bright tomorrow because we choose to be. So as we prepare to close our time together, we do so by speaking the words of the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And so it is. God bless you each and every one. I look forward to seeing you next time.
God bless you.
God bless you.